The Eagles knew the Packers play before the ball was snapped. They didn't guess it, they didn't read it late, they called it out at the line and Green Bay still ran it. On 4th and 1 with the game sitting right there, the defense announced the answer and the offense snapped the ball anyway, only to get Josh Jacobs buried. That should feel insane because for most of NFL history, this is the exact kind of moment quarterbacks were supposed to prevent. The whole mythology of the position was built around one guy walking to the line, seeing the trap, and getting everybody out before the collision. So how in the world did we end up here? Peyton Manning used to walk to the line of scrimmage and turn football into a courtroom argument. The defense showed one thing and Manning accused it of lying. The linebackers crept towards the gap, Manning moved to protection. The safety leaned the wrong way and Manning changed the route. Fans heard Omaha and they turned it into a joke, but to the 10 guys in that huddle, that sound meant that the general was still in the foxhole. Manning was still reading pressure, checking the shell, moving the pieces, and deciding if the play deserved to survive. For years, that was one of the highest compliments you could give him. Peyton Manning was like having an offensive coordinator on the field. That compliment would have sounded strange to an older generation because for a long time, that was just a job. Terry Bradshaw's Hall of Fame plaque literally reads, "Called own plays." 4 Super Bowls, a dynasty, and the offense still belonged to the guy walking into the huddle. Johnny Unitas had the same kind of authority in Baltimore. He didn't send Unitas to the line so he could wait for someone upstairs to save him. Bart Starr had the same thing in Green Bay. The quarterback carried the call and the risk and the blame on the field himself. That kind of power gave the position its old mythology. The quarterback wasn't just judged by the throws he made after the snap, he was judged by the trouble he avoided before it. If the defense cheated towards run, he had to see it. If the blitz was coming, he had to feel it. If the play was walking into a trap, he had to get the offense out before 11 defenders made everyone look stupid. Then the coach started fighting for the wheel. Paul Brown was one of the first great figures to drag the offense back towards the sidelines. Brown wanted order. He wanted control. He wanted the play to be run the way it was designed. So he sent calls in with rotating guards and squeezed down the quarterback's freedom to improvise. And because Paul Brown was Paul Brown, even that wasn't enough. In the 1950s, he experimented with putting a radio receiver inside the quarterback's helmet, trying to beam instructions directly from the sideline to George Ratterman. The league shut it down, but the idea is already there decades before the NFL officially brought in helmet communication. Brown was trying to race the distance between the coach and the huddle. It was a philosophical challenge to the whole idea of quarterbacking. The quarterback had always been the closest man to the defense, but Brown believed the coach was the man with the clearest view of the game. That argument never really ended. It just kept getting harder for quarterbacks to win. By the time football moved through the 70s and the 80s, the playbooks were thicker and the staffs were bigger, and offenses were starting to look less like instinct and more like belief systems. Air Coryell was stretching the field vertically in San Diego, turning route combinations into downfield geometry and forcing defenses to defend every blade of grass. Ground Chuck went the other way, building offenses around the idea that control didn't have to be delicate if you could just keep hammering the same spot until the defense cracked. In college, Lavelle Edwards was turning BYU into a passing laboratory, producing quarterbacks, concepts that would help feed the future air raid world. Then Bill Walsh pushed precision to another level. The West Coast offense tied the quarterback's feet to the receiver's route to the coverage, and the coverage read to the timing of the throw. Everything had a reason and everything had a landmark. Everything had to arrive on schedule, and it worked because it was smart. It also made the quarterback less like the author of the offense, and the man trusted to perform it cleanly. The compromise was audible. That became the middle ground. The coach called the play, but the quarterback still had the final edit. Dan Marino didn't need to call every play from scratch to control a game. Once he reached the line though, the defense still had to deal with him. Jim Kelly could push Buffalo into the K-gun and make the whole game feel like it was moving too fast for the sideline. The great quarterback still had the right to look at a bad front, or a bad number count, a bad pressure look, and refuse to run straight into it. So that's where Manning fits in. He wasn't just a throwback because he called every play like Bradshaw. He was a throwback because he protected the last piece of quarterback autonomy like it was sacred. The play came in, but Manning finished it. He argued with it, he inspected it, and he held it up to the defense and decided whether it desired to survive. For a long time, that was the quarterback's last real power, the right to veto. But football didn't take that away in one clean theft. It built around it until the old kind of authority started feeling unnecessary. That's where modern offenses live now. The quarterback still matters more than anyone on the field, but he's no longer walking to the line with the same blank canvas. The answers are already traveling with him. The call comes in with the tags. The formation tells a story. The motion asks the defense a question. The run-pass option puts one defender in conflict. The coach has already tried to narrow the problem before the quarterback has ever tried to solve it. That's how Sean McVay and Jared Goff became such a perfect snapshot of the modern game. The Rams would get to the line fast, let the defense show itself, and McVay would work it out until the headset cut off. Goff still had to play quarterback. He still had to make the throw, manage the pocket, and live with the result, but the image was hard to miss. The quarterback was at the line of scrimmage staring at the defense, and the offense is still being solved from somewhere else. And honestly, why wouldn't coaches want that? Every level of football rewards the quarterback who can make the coach right even when the call is wrong. It starts all the way back in Pee Wee when the best athlete on the field gets put at quarterback because the easiest offense in the world is giving your best kid the ball every snap. If the play breaks, he runs. If nobody gets open, he runs. If the defense guesses right, he just outruns the mistake. Then football gets older and more sophisticated, but the instinct doesn't really leave, it just gets dressed up better. Now the system helps him before the snap. Motion sends a receiver across the formation and makes the defense declare itself. If the corner follows, maybe it's man. If the defense bumps and shifts, maybe it's zone. If the safety rolls down late, the offense just learned something. The quarterback doesn't have to stand there for 20 seconds doing Peyton Manning dinner theater. The formation asks the questions for him. Then the RPO shrinks the world even more. The quarterback doesn't even need to own the entire defense. He needs to read the one poor defender the play has decided to torture. Step towards the run, ball goes behind you. Hang back for the pass, the running back gets the handoff. The offense takes a messy football problem and turns it into one defender being wrong no matter what he does. Then cheat motion comes along and makes the whole thing feel almost rude. Tyreek Hill starts moving before the snap and suddenly the defense is already late. He's got a runway. The coverage has to adjust. The timing is stressed before the ball's even snapped. The quarterback hasn't even done anything heroic yet and the offense has already stolen half a step. See, that's the genius of modern football. The offense isn't dumber. The quarterback's not useless. The coaches aren't ruining the sport because they discovered motion and spacing. A lot of this stuff is brilliant. Andy Reid scripting openings is brilliant. McVay building answers into the call is brilliant. Shanahan and McDaniel are brilliant. RPOs making the linebackers live in hell is brilliant. But the intelligence is moved. It's moved from the quarterback's private command of the offense to the coach's design. It's moved from the huddle to the headset. It's moved from the audible into the motion. It's moved from full field authority into packaged answers. And when the answer's right, the modern quarterback looks clean, fast, and efficient. But when the answer's wrong, he has to become the correction. If the motion doesn't fool anybody, or if the protection loses, or if the defense already knows what's coming, the quarterback's body becomes the last answer. Lamar can erase a bad picture. Josh Allen can turn a busted play into a bar fight. Mahomes can buy time until the defense forget how coverage works. And Jalen Hurts can steal 10 yards because the defense forgot his legs were part of the math. It's intoxicating, but it's also dangerous because once your quarterback can rescue a play, you start living with plays that need rescuing. That's the difference between Jalen Hurts' legs and depending on Josh Allen's cape. Philly uses Hurts' mobility as part of the offense. It's already baked into the math. It's in the sneak or the option look, the red zone threat, and the extra gap the defense has to defend. Buffalo too often feels like it's asking Allen to be the refund policy for everything that went wrong before the snap. And football's seen that bargain before. Randall Cunningham was electric, but too much of those Eagles offenses became a weekly test about whether electricity could cover for instability. John Elway was the original miracle worker, and Denver didn't become the best version of itself until Terrell Davis and Mike Shanahan gave him an offense that stopped asking for miracles every Sunday. Robert Griffin III looked like the future until the hits started collecting interest. That's the trap. The modern offense is amazing at creating answers before the snap. All the motion and RPOs and scripting, all of it makes life easier on the quarterback. But when the quarterback no longer owns the right to say no, someone still has to live with the consequences when the system is wrong. And that accountability has never really left the quarterback because the headset still cuts off. The coach can talk him through the play and the formation, but once the play clock hits 15 seconds, the voice is gone. The whole modern offense can carry him to the line, but those last few seconds still belong to the quarterback. He's the one who has to see and understand it. He has to know when the call is walking in the traffic. And this is where development starts to matter. Nick Saban's been blunt about this. College quarterbacks coming out of RPO and air raid systems where the picture is cleaner, the ball is faster, and the read is often narrower than what the NFL demands. They're not being trained for the same kind of full field defensive processing. They are being trained to play fast inside answers that the offense has already built for them. Then they go to the NFL and the defense stops cooperating. The safeties roll late. The linebacker baits the throw. The corner shows one thing and plays another. The pressure doesn't come from where the quarterback expected it. Now he has to solve the part of football that the system couldn't pre-solve for him. And when he can't, teams start shrinking the world. That's the Rick Meyer effect. The franchise quarterback arrives with the size and the arm and the hope. Then the league finds the blind spot and suddenly the offense gets smaller around them. Safer throws, cleaner reads, only playing with half the field. Everyone calls it building around the quarterback, but sometimes it's just building around what the quarterback can't do. The modern version of this looks more exciting because the escape routes are better. Lamar Jackson can lose the threat of a play and still turn into a 30-yard gain against a bad defense. That's the luxury of having one of the best open field athletes the sport's ever seen playing quarterback. But January's cooler than September. The edges are faster, the linebackers trigger harder, the safeties don't panic as easily. The playoff numbers have reflected some of that tension. Through 8 career playoff games, Lamar has an 84.6 passer rating with 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions and heavy sack pressure and several losses. It doesn't make Lamar a gimmick, but it makes him a warning label. Even the rarest athlete on the field can't be the entire correction forever. Then comes the injury bill. Steve Young took too many hits and the 49ers championship window died with him. Carson Wentz finally gets his playoff spot, takes one bad shot out of the pocket, and Philly's entire future quarterback started wobbling. Teddy Bridgewater took that devastating late hit in Minnesota, and the Vikings went from building around him to searching for the next answer. That's the cost of making the quarterback part of the emergency plan. Sometimes he can save the play, but sometimes your franchise changes directions. RG3 is the one everyone remembers because we watched the warning signs happen happen in real time. Washington built the offense around his legs, his threat, and his ability to bend the defense, and then the knee finally gave out against Seattle. ACL, LCL, meniscus, all gone in one moment. Washington spent the next decade trying to crawl out of that hole. Now Jalen Daniels looks like he finally gives them an answer, and he's already missed more than half of 2025 with a knee sprain, a hamstring sprain, elbow issues before Washington finally shut him down for the stretch. It's a different player and a different staff, but it's the same terrifying math. Mahomes is the nightmare version of this because he's the face of the sport. He's already the best argument for controlled chaos. He moves the throw. He escapes without panicking. He keeps his eyes downfield so long that the secondary starts making business decisions. But even Mahomes has already had the knee scare in 2019 when he suffered a dislocated kneecap on a quarterback sneak, and now he's rehabbing a torn ACL and LCL suffered in December of 2025. That's where all the creativity stops being cute. Nobody cares about motion, spacing, RPOs, and second reaction magic when the franchise quarterback is on the ground and the whole building realizes that the offense just became a lottery ticket. And that's the final cost of reducing the quarterback's authority before the snap. Someone still has to pay when the system's wrong. The coach sent it in, the motion dressed it up, the RPO gave it the answer. The headset carried the information as far as the rules will allow. But once the ball is snapped, the quarterback is the one who gets hit. He's the one who gets blamed, and he's the one who everyone expects to turn a mistake into a miracle. That's how we get here. The Eagles called out the Packers' play before the snap. It's not guessed. It's not suspected. They called it out. They knew it was coming. Josh Jacobs said it plainly afterward. 4th and 1, they called out our play. The clock was winding down and Green Bay snapped it faster than they wanted to, and Philadelphia made the play. Jordan Love has to wear a part of that. He's the quarterback. If the defense calls the play before the snap, someone has to stop the car before it hits the wall. But seeing the problem isn't the same as having the authority, the language, the clock, and the practiced answer to fix it. Love needed to kill that play, but modern football hasn't really built that into him. That's the evolution of the offense in one ugly little football moment. Bradshaw once called the game, Marino corrected the game, Manning put the game on trial before the ball got snapped. Now the defense can announce the play out loud and the offense still runs it. Modern football's built a smarter offense around the quarterback. It's given him all the tools to make the picture clear, but it's also made the quarterback easy to overrule by design. And when the design is wrong, all that's left is the same thing football always comes back to. One guy has to fix it before the other 11 guys make him pay. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. You know, when I started writing this, I thought it was going to be a quick 5-minute video about quarterbacks not calling their own plays anymore. Then the more I pulled at it, the more tangled it got. Because modern offenses are incredible. They're smarter, faster, cleaner, and more efficient than anything football used to have. But like everything else, it feels like they've optimized some common sense right out of the room. You can script the opening and dress up the plays with motion. You can build answers into everything. But at some point, if you train quarterbacks to operate the machine instead of questioning it, you can't act surprised when the machine runs straight into a wall. If you enjoyed this one, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in your comments. Are there quarterbacks out there being overcoached? And is just this what modern football's become?